kick off now. We're close to 60 on the call. We are 60 now, so I'll kick that off. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on Finland. I'm Karin Angus. I'm the Senior Market Advisor for the high-tech construction and data center sector in the Nordics. My colleagues, Susan Byrne, who covers energy, Thomas Sheridan, who covers engineering, and Michael Norman, who covers life sciences, are also here. I should also say that we are recording this session and will share it later on. We have noted increased interest in Finland from our client companies in the last 18 to 24 months. Enterprise Island client companies' exports to the Nordics increased by a whole 39% from 2024 to 2025, and Finland is our fastest growing market in the Nordics at the moment. We therefore welcome the opportunity to collaborate with the regional investment agency Helsinki Partners on this webinar and our planned in-person event in Helsinki on 13th of October. And we're also very happy to have speakers from the large Nordic banks Danske Bank and Nordea with us here today. We have Andros from Helsinki Partners, Antti Ilvonen from Danske Bank, and Jari Salminen from Nordea. Thank you very much for being with us. This morning is really just a short teaser about Finland and the opportunities and challenges there. We know you also want to know about compliancy, employment, brand development, talent attraction, tax, connectivity and transmission, accommodation, etc. We will not have time to discuss all those topics today, but we hope you will get information and contacts at our in-person event in October. That day will hopefully be a good opportunity for you to get to know Finland better, expand your network, and have an opportunity to meet both existing and new contacts. You can post questions in the Q&A section throughout, and we will try to answer them at the end. If we don't have time today or can answer all the questions, we will bring them with us to the event in October. So thank you very much for logging on. I'm now going to introduce Maria Andros. She is a Senior Advisor, Investment Promotion with Helsinki Partners. She will provide an overview of Helsinki Partners, the support and services available to international companies, and why the greater Helsinki region and Finland continue to be an attractive destination for business and investment. The floor is yours, Maria.
Thank you so much, Karin. And good morning, everybody. Very happy to be here and very happy to see the high interest in Finland and Helsinki. My name is Maria Andros, and I'm Senior Advisor with Helsinki Partners. What we do is that we're a city-owned marketing investment promotion company dedicated to promoting Helsinki sustainable growth. And Helsinki Partners attracts investments, businesses, professionals, and visitors to Helsinki while leading the city's international sales, marketing, and brand building efforts. And we provide our services free of charge in a tailored manner to international, high-tech, fast-growing companies looking to expand, innovate, and explore new business opportunities in Helsinki. Next slide, please. And although Helsinki and Finland might seem geographically a little bit distant, maybe not so distant from Ireland, but kind of in the corner of EU, we have a very strategic location in Northern Europe with easy access to the Baltics, to the Nordics, and the EU common market, of course. And we have excellent transportation and logistic infrastructure, well-connected airport, one of the most convenient airports in the world, and Finland is the only Nordic market with the common currency euro. Please, next slide. Thank you. Some success factors of Finland. Although we're a relatively small market, Finland has a lot of strengths. And Finland ranks as the most stable country globally. We have a highly functioning business environment that offers continuity, transparency, low corruption rates, high levels of trust. And Finland has the best developed education system in the world. Our education is free, and Finns are highly educated with a lot of skilled workforce available, including scientists and engineers. And we have the highest levels of digital talent in Europe, actually. And probably you know that, but Finland has been awarded the title of the happiest country in the world 9 years in a row, which makes Helsinki the happiest capital in the world as well. Therefore, we promote happy Helsinki a lot. Please, next slide. If you look at the Finnish IT sector, we have a very closely needed ecosystem of various technologies. These are just some of them. And in this close ecosystem, it allows for easy collaboration between public, private, people partnerships, leading to innovation and overall efficiency within the sector. A lot of emphasis goes to the quantum sector right now. Finland is a pioneer in quantum technologies, especially in the field of superconducting quantum devices. And we have also successfully combined a quantum computer with a high-performance supercomputer. I will talk about this a bit later. We are testing 6G connectivity technologies already. We have high performance computing. Finland hosts Lumi, one of Europe's most powerful supercomputers, enabling breakthroughs in AI development, various modeling like climate modeling, very complicated, and so on and so forth. And seamless integration between quantum computing and HPC further cements Finland's reputation as a test bed for such convergent technologies. A lot of happening in the AI sector as well. So from Europe's first AI strategy in 2017, almost 10 years ago, to the thriving AI startup scene currently, we excel in a research, talent development, multilingual or large model trainings, and we have a lot of success stories to prove our success rate. And as you can see, we've been always pioneering connectivity technologies with companies like Nokia, and all the pioneering in 5G, 6G research. A lot of things are happening in space tech and cybersecurity as well. Please, next slide. Thank you. As key partners for R&D collaboration, I would just like to outline a couple of them, because international companies in Finland, they have the possibility to collaborate with a lot of world class renowned academic research institutions and universities. For example, FCEI is the hub for European top-level AI research, ranking among the top 3 in Europe. CSC, or IT Center for Science, is one of the world's leading and best-known computing centers that offers access to high-performing computing resources, such as Lumi supercomputer, which is the fastest supercomputer in Europe currently. And VTT, the Finnish Institute of Technology, is one of the leading research institutions in Europe, and they're focusing on digital breakthrough technologies, including microelectronics, quantum technology, sensing solutions, foresight and data technology as well. And then we have 2 key universities. University of Helsinki is among the top-ranking European universities for AI, for example, and they host a lot of incubation and acceleration programs for the companies as well. And Aalto University is the university for art, technology, and business, and they're a key player in the deep tech innovation in Finland. Next slide, please. So last year, Finland made a significant investment in AI research by establishing second ever ELLIS Institute in Europe. And ELLIS is a leading network of AI research excellence across Europe. And this new institute, it brings together top researchers, industry leaders, universities, large-scale R&D collaborations, and it will play a big role in attracting top AI talent to Finland as well. And Alice will be leveraging our world-class computing and data infrastructure provided by the supercomputer Lumi. Next slide. Thank you. Which is a state-of-the-art computing and data infrastructure through the Euro HPC Lumi supercomputer. And it's currently, like I said before, fastest supercomputer in Europe with a computational power over 1.5 million computer laptops. Lumi is connected to VTT's 5-qubit quantum computer as well, making it the most powerful quantum-assisted supercomputing infrastructure in the world. And they are providing their computational power to businesses as well, free of charge. So that's about the public-private cooperation part here. Please, next slide. Finland also offers advanced research infrastructure for micro, nano, and quantum technologies, offering cutting-edge facilities like Micronova, Quantinova, which is RDI hub for assisting companies in developing and testing their semiconductor innovations, for example. No, that's about it. Next slide. And Finland tops a lot of rankings also on the sustainability side, and offers advanced research offers a lot of kind of cheap, accessible, and stable electricity production to the population, to the businesses as well. And roughly 96% of our current electricity production is already fossil-free. And it's an exceptionally high share, which comes from combination of nuclear power, wind, hydro, solar, and other renewable fuels. And nuclear now accounts for around 38% of our electricity production, giving us kind of an unmatched reliability currently. This ensures we have steady, carbon-free supply with electricity, and not dependent on kind of imports that we had of fossil fuels from other countries before that. Next slide. And one interesting slide as well, probably for our Irish colleagues here, that Finland has the lowest electricity prices in Europe. As you can see in the graph, the data is from end of 2025. And Finland and Ireland here are kind of on the opposite sides of the graph as well. So I was thinking that this particular insight will be also interesting for all of you. Please, next slide. Helsinki has a lot of testbed opportunities, and in general in Finland, but if Helsinki specializes on edtech, built environment, health, well-being, smart mobility, circular economy, other Finnish regions might specialize on maritime, energy, transportation, and so on and so forth. And what makes Finnish ecosystem or Helsinki testbed ecosystem special as well is open data that is accessible for the companies to kind of peruse and utilize to generate and test their own products and solutions as well. And everything is piloted usually in real time in these living labs of cities, neighborhoods, with real-time users as well, which are the end customers and citizens of the city. Please, next slide. Speaking as a talent, I already mentioned a couple of key points here, but what Finland can offer is actually an access to very highly educated workforce with the best employee digital skills in EU. as well as Finland ranks #1 in data science and machine learning proficiency globally. We also have AI-specific talent available, and in fact, we run as #2 in Europe for AI expertise per capita. And Finland is currently the most attractive immigration destination for AI talent among the Nordics. And our tech professionals, it has to be said, and we receive a lot of questions about the Finnish language. So our tech professionals are predominantly English speaking, making it easy to operate for international companies. And Finns is the nation of one of the best non-native English speakers in the world as well. Please, next slide. Helsinki has a good price-quality ratio as a location for high-end R&D. And Helsinki's skilled workforce, strong infrastructure, supportive regulations, they all contribute to a more financially attractive venture with lower operating costs. And as you can see from the graph, we're also competing with Dublin on that. Next slide. Here you can see the operating costs for 18 employee R&D center. Helsinki is pretty cost efficient compared with some other major European locations. And in addition, we have quite moderate below average taxation. We have the lowest corporate tax rate in the Nordics, which is currently 20%. And from next year, it will be lower to 18. Next slide, please. And we don't have a lot of tax deductions, but here are some of the major ones that we provide, which concerns taxation benefits for the foreign key employees, R&D subcontracting, and R&D deduction for conducting big R&D operations in conglomerate with the ecosystem players. Next slide, please. And a lot of public funding instruments are available in Finland naturally, and those include R&D incentives, business aid, loans and guarantees, development research funding, and EU-funded support and access to EU trade zone, obviously. And a lot of those are provided by the national operator, which is called Business Finland, which is responsible for economic development, investment attraction, but also funding of the businesses that are set here in Finland. And next slide, and that will be my last one. In case you have any questions and want to know more, please don't hesitate to reach out via email or via LinkedIn as well. And I will be staying until the end of the webinar to answer any questions. And that's it. I hope I was on time.
You were. Thank you very much, Maria.
Perfect.
Very interesting presentation about Helsinki and Finland. Thank you so much. We're now going to move on to the banking world. So we will start with Antti Ilvonen, who is Senior Analyst, Macro Research with Danske Bank, who will give an overview of the Finnish economy. Please, Antti.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and good morning to you all from my side as well. So, as said, my name is Antti Ilvonen. I'm part of the local macro research team here in Helsinki. So obviously, we are a Danish bank, but with a pretty strong presence here in the Finnish market as well, especially when it comes to the wholesale side of the banking sphere. So my idea today was to give you a brief overview of some of the key factors to know about the Finnish economy currently. And I think we are actually looking at the economy at a pretty interesting time. I think, if you look at, or if you have looked at sort of economic reports or news reporting about the Finnish economy over the past 5, 10, maybe even 15 years, I think you might find that the overall tone hasn't been overly positive, and that makes sense. I think you should know that Finland, of course, is a relatively small, it's a relatively open, export-driven economy. We're quite prone or vulnerable when it comes to external shocks. And as we all know, the global economy has been hit by a series of quite drastic external shocks over the past few years, which in many cases have hit the Finnish economy harder than many of our peers. Finland is a very rate-sensitive economy. The recent increase in interest rate has had a very rapid hits or effects on the Finnish economy. Similarly, the downturn that we saw in the sort of global manufacturing cycle after the pandemic, it also weighed on Finnish export engine quite drastically a few years ago, as did the loss of trade with our eastern neighbor after they began their military adventure into Ukraine, which is unfortunately still ongoing. But then, if you look at what's been going on this year, despite some of the uncertainty that we still see on the sort of geopolitical landscape, the Finnish economy has actually seen some of the strongest improvements in sort of economic growth momentum of the entire continent. And I think it has partially been driven by some more supportive global tailwinds after a while. We're now seeing that across the world, companies are investing more. They're investing into AI capabilities. They're investing more into defense capabilities. We're seeing some of our key export markets now turning towards more supportive economic policies. We're seeing that in Germany. We're seeing that in Sweden, in the US as well. That is providing a lot of new demand for the Finnish economy. And this year we've started to slowly but steadily that's spilling over to the domestic demand side as well. So actually, for the first time in many years, the Finnish macro outlook is actually looking relatively solid. Now, if we flip to the next slide, I want to discuss a couple of factors that I think are quite important for the sort of global or broader investment environment here in Finland and our sort of relative competitiveness against our peers. Now, Maria already flagged the relatively low electricity prices that we get to enjoy here in Finland, and I think this sort of broader idea of energy self-sufficiency is actually looking increasingly important for the investment environment, not least in light of the continuous stream of unfortunate news that we keep getting, not least from the Middle East on a daily basis. Something that is not quite as clearly evident is what's happening on the labor cost side, but that's of course very relevant for your decision making as well. I think over the past few years, Finland's labor cost competitiveness has actually improved quite a bit relative to some of our Nordic peers, as well as many of the other larger economies across the sort of continental Central Europe. That's what I tried to illustrate here on the left. The unit labor costs are obviously a measure of how much you as a company are paying for 1 unit of labor. And Finland hasn't always had the strongest labor cost competitiveness of the bunch. But I think over the past few years, especially after the pandemic, Finland has actually stood out as a relatively cost competitive economy, which at least personally I think will be a tailwind for our sort of investment appetite over the coming years. Of course, if we zoom a bit more closely into how the business cycle and I guess the sort of broader, manufacturing cycle is developing, then we could look at charts something like this. On the chart on the left, I want to compare Finland to the rest of the euro area, and this is the industrial confidence indicator provided by the European Commission. Something you can immediately see is that obviously, as I mentioned in the beginning, Finland is exposed to the exact same business cycles as many of the other European economies are, but the difference is simply that we are even more cyclical in nature compared to maybe some of the economies that we see further down south. And as mentioned, over the past few years, that hasn't exactly been a positive thing when the global manufacturing cycle was generally facing years of stagnation or relatively weak growth. But more recently, as the sort of global investment cycle has improved, so has the Finnish business cycle as well. The measure that I'm illustrating here is the relative growth in order books versus inventories, and of course the idea is that if companies are seeing stronger growth in their order books than their inventories, then that tends to increase the pressure to increase the production capacities as well, and that's kind of what you can start to see on the graph on the right as well. If you look at overall investment growth in the Finnish economy, it's still not looking that positive. The growth numbers are not super attractive on a headline level, but I do think you should be aware of the fact that it's really the sort of residential construction market or the residential housing market that is keeping the overall level of investments still at relatively modest growth rates. If you strip away the drag that we're facing from the residential housing market, then actually all of the other private sector investments have already rebounded and are currently experiencing a pretty solid growth trend. So, also from that point of view, I think things are moving to the right direction. One thing that's I don't think is being discussed that much, but what I think is going to be very relevant for your upcoming decisions is, of course, the availability of labor. And if you do a quick Google search on what's going on in the Finnish labor markets, you might again find that most news reporting about Finnish labor markets are they're not overly positive. The unemployment rate is currently fairly high, and that's of course having a understandably negative effect on things like consumer sentiments, consumer confidence, how people perceive the economy overall. But of course, the positive flip side is that Finland currently has a pretty good position in terms of labor availability, and that's not something that is overall given. When you look at the trends that we're kind of facing globally, with aging demographics, changing immigration policies in parts of the world, having access to a broad labor supply is not automatically, or is not given in every single place around the world. I think this is just one neat way to illustrate this. The measures that I'm illustrating here is labor force participation rates. If you're not familiar, that's just the share of adult population that is currently either working or available for work. And here in Finland, that measure is currently at some of the highest levels that we've seen since the 1990s. Complete opposites of what we are, for example, seeing in the United States at the moment. This has been a key reason why, for example, the unemployment rates are currently at a high level. But looking ahead, it also means that there's a lot of growth and rebound potential in the economy going forward, and that's of course another key factor for upcoming investment decisions and the broader investment environments as well. The final point that I want to flag is related to the construction market that I already mentioned earlier. Overall, the construction sector is still facing a lot of headwinds, but as mentioned, it is largely due to the residential housing markets. The blue line here is the amount of building permits that have been granted for residential housing projects, and again, it doesn't really look like we've seen that big of a turnaround or uptick in growth momentum. So clearly, I would expect the residential housing market to remain relatively weak, and that's continues to be a relatively heavy drag on overall economic growth over the next few years. But that's of course not the entire picture. I do think we've seen some pretty promising developments when it comes to more infrastructure and manufacturing related construction projects, and I think it is actually quite striking that if you measure building permits by cubic meters, then actually it already looks like Finland is building even more data centers than it is building new residential housing. Whether that's a good or bad sign of the economy, you tell me. But I guess if you are looking into entering some of the more infrastructure or manufacturing heavy industries, or looking to engage with construction projects on those sectors, then I guess this also tells you that maybe the investment environment that we're facing or having here in Finland is actually not looking overly gloomy, despite the weak overall stance of the sector. But I think that was the sort of broad overview that I wanted to leave you guys with. Following the example of our current president, if you're not going to remember any of this, I'd like you to remember at least these 3 bullets. I think overall, it's important to acknowledge that the series of external shocks that the global economy has faced over the past few years, it has hit the Finnish economy relatively harder than it has hit many of our sort of European peers. But as some of those external shocks are now receding, the cyclical outlook has improved tremendously and much more than most banks, ourselves included, expected at the beginning of the year. Some of the factors that I think support Finnish competitiveness, definitely labor costs, strong availability of labor, as well as the energy self-sufficiency, all add to the recovery potential that the economy has also going into 2027, 2028 and onwards. And at least here at Danske Research, we are quite positive that we're going to see some further improvements in both domestic and foreign demand going forward. The final slide that I wanted to leave you guys with is just comes with a few contact details of some of my colleagues that here at Danske cover international wholesale clients like yourselves. Alexis Soininen is heading our global subsidiaries team. He's physically located here in Helsinki as well, but we have quite strong and broad coverage across the country, so also up to the central and northern areas. If you'd like to be in touch, feel free to take screenshots or write down some of the contact details from this page and stay in touch with some of my colleagues. I flagged them that we're doing this webinar, and they are more than happy to answer any of your questions over the coming weeks and months. But Susan, I think that wraps it up for me, so we can head forward with the webinar.
Thank you very much, Antti. Interesting presentation about the Finnish economy. We look forward to hearing more from you, hopefully also at the October event. We continue on the banking side. We now have Jari Salminen, who is head of International Subsidiary Group Finland for Nordea. And he will talk more around the bank practicalities for foreign companies and maybe what to think about when needing a bank in Finland. So please, Jari, your turn.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Jari Salminen, coming from Nordea Bank Finland, and as mentioned, heading the International Subsidiary Group business banking unit in our bank. But yeah, next slide, please. So following presentation is basically not only about Nordea, but actually applies to other banks as well, whether you're looking at banking partner, whether it's Nordea, Danske, or any other bank in Finland. So basically, I wanted to highlight a few things. What is the onboarding process in the banks in Finland, also the KYC process, and also what kind of services we are usually offering to our corporate customers. But one slide about Nordea as well, just to highlight who we are if you're not familiar with Nordea already. So Nordea is one of the biggest banks in the Nordics, and also one of the biggest banks in the Northern Europe as well. Actually, our market cap is around same as the one in Deutsche Bank, for example. We are a big player in the Northern Europe, and offering services in large corporate and institutions, business banking, private banking, and also personal banking sides. But yeah, and headquartered nowadays in Helsinki, Finland, but operating in all the Nordic countries, and we have branch offices also in London, Shanghai, and New York. But yeah, as I said, this presentation will apply to other banks also in Finnish market. But I wanted to start with this slide to show what kind of services we usually offer towards our corporate customers in Finland. And these are basically these kind of services that usually customers, international owned customers, are contacting us and wanting to have when they're establishing a banking relationship with us. But of course, first step, if you don't already have a business in the Nordics or in Finland, of course, the first step is to establish a company here, whether that's a subsidiary or branch office. And then please feel to contact us in Nordea or colleagues in Danske or other bank in Finland. You can find information here in the presentation or also going online, which bank you want to approach to. And usually many of the banks have online onboarding processes, so you can start like a preliminary KYC process, or you can have the contact details or send the message towards the bank and then start the discussion with the bank you choose. But these are kind of the basic services that usually international corporate customers are looking for. So of course, some sort of a corporate bank account, whether that's like a cash management account, a normal corporate account, or fixed term deposit account, and so on. But also some form of access to the account. Actually, in Finland, I have to say that we have been like the first country in the world, I would say, that introducing online banking for our customers. Actually, the first online bank for the corporate customers was introduced in the year 1979 already. So since then, Finnish banks have been offering online services and web banking solutions. All the banks, I would say, in the Finland can offer these services. So secure digital access towards the bank, but also domestic and international payments. So Finnish is part of the Eurozone, as you know, and we have the SEPA, Single Euro Payment Services, that we offer towards our customers. So we offer like a SEPA credit transfer, SEPA direct debit solutions, or SEPA instant services, for example, and also salary and tax payments connected to that. I would say that the direct debit solution, for example, just to mention one, banks in Finland are offering that, but we have a own kind of solution in the Finnish market, which is called e-invoicing, electronic invoicing, that has been implemented many years ago, and Finnish kind of households and businesses are using that solution and not so much the SEPA direct debit solution. But of course, we're offering other day-to-day banking services as cards, credit cards, debit cards, etc. Physical cash as well, even though the amount of cash in circulation in Finland is diminishing year by year. But still, of course, we use that in the Finnish banking sector. And also, when you're establishing a corporation in Finland and you need arranging a office space here, usually you need to have a bank guarantee or a cash deposit on your account for the landlord. So that's kind of a standard solution that the banks are offering in Finland, and usually our international corporate customers are wanting to have a bank guarantee by the bank in Finland. And also financing. Even though some of our big customers, they are exchange-listed companies outside the Nordics or in the Nordics, but they have access to capital markets, or they have their house bank outside of the Nordics, but still they might need local financing needs, whether that's leasing or other short-term financing or even long-term financing. So please be aware that Finnish banks offer those as well. But yeah, next slide, please. And then when you're thinking about designing your payment flows, there's few questions I wanted to highlight here, what to think about beforehand, and also when having the discussions with your banking partner. So who will make and approve the payments? So as mentioned, we have online banking solutions. So it's good to think about who is the person who is typing in the payments. Do you need like 4 eyes checks for like fraud point of view, that another person checks and approves the payment? And is the banking partner, for example, able to offer that kind of online banking solution, and who are actually the persons doing this, operating and having accesses to these online banking solutions? Or do you have an admin that is going to delegate accesses in the online banking solution, and so on? And of course, which countries you operate and what currencies and so on, and how many accounts are needed. Or do you even need a cash pooling solution? Many of the banks in Finland can offer local cash pools or Nordic or global cash pooling solutions as well. And of course, one of the key things is also the ERP solution that you already have, how to implement that towards the Finnish bank account. We use like MT940 account statements or XML statements, or many of the banks have also like open banking APIs that you can use and integrate your ERP and your solutions towards banks' APIs, or use the old way of doing the MT and XML messages, where you get the information what's happened in your bank account, or also you can initiate payments with. And then salaries, taxes, all that, but you can use SEPA payment, patch payments, and all that when you're doing these payment types. And is centralized liquidity or Nordic visibility needed? So as mentioned, banks can offer local cash pools or even Nordic cash pools, where you can have a visibility of your Nordic funds if you have multiple accounts in different Nordic countries. But yep, next slide, please. But then the all important and KYC part and onboarding part. So as you know, the KYC questions, there's a lot of them. They can take time. Of course, there can be different questions each bank in Finland is asking, but I would say the processes are pretty much similar. within Finland and within EU as well, we have same legislation that we are required to follow and asking questions. But I wanted to highlight 3 categories here. So basically, what each bank need to know: who are the owners, the beneficial owners, ultimate beneficial owners, and management as well. And usually, I would say my experience is that when you establish a company here, one of the first steps is to meet the bank physically even. Or of course, you can have the discussions what kind of digital solutions they can offer, but usually the Finnish subsidiary, the chairman of the board, or some other representation needs to come live to one of the Nordic countries or Finland, that the bank can meet that person in the beginning of the process. But yeah, one category of the KYC questions, of course, the controller who's controlling the company, but also what does the company do? So what is the business model, products, customers, markets, etc. That's really important for the bank to know. And how will actually the banking services be used? What are the expected payment flows? You don't have to know exactly, of course, predict the future, how will the subsidiary branch office in Finland be like, but some prediction of the payment flows and counterparties. What are you in customers and countries and currencies? And nowadays, I would say there's increased focus by banks and, of course, our regulators and FSAs, financial supervision authorities, as well towards sanctions and circumvention of sanctions. So there's a lot of questions, KYC in the beginning of the customership and ongoing due diligence when it comes to sanctions and evading of sanctions as well. But yep, next slide, please. But this is maybe a little bit of repetition of the last slide also, but so when you're approaching a bank, I think it's really important that you have all the documents ready. So before approaching a bank, if you haven't established a company in Finland as well, please do that. You can, of course, find information online. You use legal assistance if needed. But basically, the Finnish place is Patentti- ja Rekisterihallitus, PRH, where you're establishing a new company, and then you get a registration documentation. But you need that documentation and also the organizational or ownership structure when you're approaching the bank. But yeah, and be ready to explain what kind of business you're going to do, what are the payments volumes, countries and counterparties, so the bank will know is there a payments to or from like high-risk countries and what countries, and that will affect the bank's KYC and approval processes. But yeah, next slide, please. How to avoid some common onboarding delays. So I've been in banking industry around 15 years and like 4 years in my current role. We've seen a lot of like hundreds of different customer cases. So there's some common onboarding pitfalls here on this slide. So I would say one of the most important things is please start early in the process, because these processes can take time, I would say, in all the banks in Nordics and elsewhere as well. And if the ownership graph and structure chart is really complicated, it can take some time to analyze and ask follow-up questions. And it's good to be prepared to have all the charts ready before approaching the bank. And yeah, please start the process as early as possible and explain the Finnish business in plain language. Please use English. Of course, you can use Finnish as well, but English is in this case, and have all the documents available and so on. But yeah, next slide, please. And choosing the right banking partner. Of course, in Nordea, we're happy to help, and I would assume that colleagues in Danske as well, other banks in Finland, we're happy to help international companies here. But there's a few questions that I wanted to highlight regarding this, what to think about it beforehand. So does the bank understand foreign-owned companies? Do they have processes and expertise to serve the foreign-owned companies, international companies? And can they also support the local operations? But if you have an ambition for Nordic growth, let's say that you're starting with Finland, but you're expanding to, let's say, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, is the banking partner able to support with that growth? Do they have a presence there? Are they able to support with that growth? And also, do its payments and digital solutions fit your operating model and your ERP needs as well? So you have some sort of ERP solution. Is the banking partner able to support with that, to send the right type of message types, or have the APIs ready that you can connect your ERP solution to, that you can get a real-time account balances and information needed, and can initiate payment also? And is there access to relevant local expertise? So that's a good question to ask as well. But yeah, next slide, please. But 5 takeaways. This is kind of my summary about the presentation. One of the most important things is please start early when you're approaching the bank. The processes can take some time nowadays with the KYC questions, and asking them question when you have answered the questions, then asking new questions on, and then the approval process can take some time if you have if there's some high risk countries payments to and from, for example, or if there is a dual use goods and services that you need some permissions, etc., etc. And please be prepared to have the ownership and KYC information ready. Of course, many of the big companies have their standard KYC packages, and that's a good starting point, but the banks will ask some additional questions based on that also. And please select a partner that can support your future growth. So not only your current needs, but going forward, like 1, 2, 3, 5 years, what are your possible future needs in that time? And if there's one thing to remember, I would say that the onboarding starts before approaching the bank. Also, when you're gathering the KYC information and preparing for your organizational charts and establishing the branch office and all that. So please keep that in mind and please start early. But happy to help here in Nordea. So I don't have my contact details unfortunately on this slide, but you can reach me jari.salminen@nordea.com. Happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jari. Interesting to hear about the banking practicalities that will be important for many of the companies if they do decide to set up in Finland. And now, last but not least, I will hand over to my colleague Thomas Sheridan, who will close this session with a Q&A and provide further details of our proposed in-person event in Helsinki on 13th of October. We have some time left, so do take this opportunity and pose questions in the Q&A section if there is anything you want to ask our speakers about. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Karin. At the minute, there's no questions submitted to the Q&A or general chat. So if anyone has any kind of questions they want to pop in, feel free to submit them. If not, feel free to send them after today's webinar, and we'll collate them ahead of the in-person event on the 13th of October. So just, I suppose, we're waiting for any questions to come in. Just again to thank, I suppose, all our speakers this morning, Maria, Antti, and Jari. They're all really excellent presentations, and kind of, I suppose, gives a teaser around a lot of the key partnerships available, the economy, banking kind of situations in Finland. And I suppose in terms of the event, we're still working on the full agenda for the 13th of October. But again, we're using the feedback we've received thus far from client companies to try and shape the day itself. And I suppose another key takeaway to I suppose relay is that the event is also an opportunity for client companies to engage with your market contacts in Finland, or if you're slightly newer to the market, to work with ourselves to try and identify some new contacts ahead of the event if it's of interest to yourselves. So I suppose there's a couple of questions coming through. So one question is, could we discuss the economic outlook for Finland for 2027 to 2030? So I think I'll just throw that maybe open to Antti first.
Yeah, I think just to put some kind of numbers on the to give you a sense, I think most sell-side banks started this year by forecasting economic growth around 1% for the coming few years. I think that goes to both ourselves and Nordea and many others. I think since then, many of those growth estimates have actually been increased quite a bit by the strong incoming data. So I think currently most of the new forecasts are landing at or predicting economic growth around 2% per year. I think that would be a relatively solid pace for the economy. It's not the fastest that we see throughout Europe, but in historical context, that would be a relatively solid growth pace for the remainder of the decade. What could be driving that? We expect private consumption to really rebound, further improvements in labor market conditions, as well as these more manufacturing-oriented investments. Of course, largely targeting exports. Those I think will be the primary drivers for the next few years.
Great, Antti. I don't know if Maria or Jari have any other kind of additional comments, maybe just to make it a more general level.
Yeah, I can quickly comment, but yeah, Antti is the expert on the macroeconomic side of things. I'm not an economist by trade, but listening our economists, I agree with Antti. We have corrected our GDP predictions for a more positive level in the first half of this year, and especially in my work, we can see a lot of new international companies coming to Finland, and especially in the field of data centers. So that seems to be really the hot sector right now in Finland.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Antti, Jari. The second question that's been submitted, I think it's a little bit niche, but I'll just mention it. Is there presently any knowledge of the level of business with respect to data center retrofitting to older units? I think that might be a question that we'll take away for try and answer in terms of the in-person event, but maybe Karin, maybe you might have a bit of insight on that.
Yeah, if any of the speakers do know, please speak up, but I can imagine you don't. I don't, to be honest. I think it's mainly new builds when it comes to the data center sector in Finland at the moment. Of course, it all kind of kicked off with Google in Hamina quite a few years ago now. So there will be retrofitting going on there, I'm sure. But I'm not sure I will be able to be more specific than that. Sorry.
Yeah, that's no problem. Thanks, Karin. Another question, a few more has come in. Another question is, what are the key risks, challenges that businesses should take into account when considering to do business with Finland? Again, I'll leave that open to whoever wants to jump in first.
Yeah, maybe I can quick comment. Of course, in the past, our neighboring country, Russia, must like the geographical situation could be seen as a risk. Nowadays, we are a NATO country, and we have a lot of investment coming from the West as well. So I don't see that risk anymore. But there's a lot of good sides coming to Finland, as Antti mentioned and Maria mentioned in their presentation. Our workforce, that we have a lot of talented workforce here, and cost of workforce and stuff like that. So at least no other huge risks come into my mind.
Yeah, I think I can really just follow up with what Jari already said. I think the overall resilience of the economy has improved. We're now no longer at all reliance on the relations with Russia. I think also household balance sheets, corporate balance sheets have generally improved, or balance sheet health has improved over the past few years. So that's also adding to the resilience. But I guess just more generally and more broadly, I think you need to understand that, again, Finland, the Finnish economy, it is export-driven economy. So whatever risks that you might have in mind for the sort of broader global business cycle, whether that's an escalation of higher energy prices, whether that's sudden stop of AI-driven investments, some kind of a loss of momentum in the current capex cycle, all of that would also have some negative repercussions for the Finnish economy as well. So do you think of the Finnish economy as a sort of quite a cyclical derivative of whatever you see in the global business cycle as well?
Yeah, right. Next question was, again, data center related. Do data centers get a good press in Finland? That was the question. Again, probably maybe a little bit outside of the three speakers. But yeah, feel free to answer if you have any kind of observations.
this is not necessarily a very professional take on this, just my sort of personal observation here. But in certain countries, I think in the United States especially, we've seen quite a lot of negative publicity around data centers. I don't think we've seen similar in Finland, at least to the same extent. In the US, it's almost becoming like an election theme, whether or not you're supportive of data centers or not. I don't think it's being discussed nearly to the same extent in Finnish media and Finnish press.
Yeah, I get the same feeling, Antti. I am based in Sweden, so I don't read as many Finnish news as the Swedish ones. But I would also say that in many other countries, including Ireland, it seems to be more negative press. It seems still to be mainly neutral. In Finland, it's kind of stating the fact more that these investments are happening. But I may be wrong, and if you guys see anything differently, let us know. But I think you're right, Antti. It's not as much as in other countries, at least.
Yeah. Another comment in relation to data centers. A recent consultant suggested, sorry, I'll say that, start again. A recent consultant-supported report showed power to be the biggest single struggle with building new centers. Is this the same issue in the Nordics, specifically Finland, obviously?
At least maybe I can take that not to my knowledge as well, because Finland has now clear abundance of energy sources as well. And as far as I remember, we're one of the only countries that are capable to exporting the electricity as well. So at the current state of things, no.
Great. Right, thanks, Maria. Next question is, how does the Finnish government feel about international companies, in particular Irish companies, working in the data center within Finland?
Sorry, is that me again?
It might be Karen, yeah.
Yes, you hear, guys, that it's a lot of data center related companies online. It's mainly those ones that are kind of interested in Finland at the moment. I think in general appears that the Finnish government has been positive. It's Business Finland has had a positive attitude towards data centers in the past, at least. Maybe they don't have as much focus there as they've had in the past, but they also have a very active Finnish data center association and so on. So in general, it's been seen positively, I think, with the big players coming in, but maybe they don't focus on it as much any longer as a couple of years ago.
Yeah, thanks, Corin. One further question is the market for software developers as tight as elsewhere in Europe? Maybe, Maria, that might be a question for your knowledge with the Helsinki background.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's tight or overly crowded as well. There is always room for digital solutions and so on and so forth. And then you have to remember that compared to some other countries, Finland is a relatively small market. We don't have a high population. We're 5.5 million people here as well, and a lot of kind of solutions that are brought into Finland. We are welcoming with open arms because they diversify our economy, they create new jobs, they pay taxes and so on and so forth. So it's I wouldn't say that it's overly crowded or kind of like Red Sea type of the situation, but definitely there is plenty of software developing companies on the market. Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And then the final question is, do you know the outlook for further investments in nuclear energy in Finland? To know who can really kind of take the lead on that. That might be one we can kind of take away.
Well, the current nuclear power plant that is fully functional in Finland is Olkiluoto, next to Helsinki as well. And there were plans pre-war to build another one, but the project was headed by the Russian kind of governmental nuclear developing company as well. So now those plans were abandoned, and probably that plan won't be picked up by another kind of service provider in a long while, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, I think that was our last question. So and we just hit the 10:30 mark here in Sweden. So yeah, I think again, just a thank you to all of their guest speakers today, and also to Karin and Susan for guiding us through the presentation as well, the webinar as well. And as mentioned before, we're obviously working on the full agenda for October 13th. So the team here will be in touch with interested companies in terms of kind of giving further updates. And also, if you have any questions regarding today's webinar or anything to do with the event itself from the client company side, feel free to reach out to ourselves. We'll obviously be happy to help with any questions or queries as they come in.